This episode is brought to you by Tic Tac. Summer tastes like Tic Tac. Tantalize your taste buds this sunny season with citrus adventure and orange. 2 everyday flavors that bring summer in every. Tic Tac Citrus Adventure is a yummy, vibrant medley of lemon, lime, and mandarin. And Tic Tac Orange is the perfect mix of tangy and sweet. Visit us at Tic Tac USA on social to refresh your summer with Tic Tac.
This episode is brought to you by Cadillac. Cadillac certified service technicians are factory trained to fit your vehicle with the tires specifically developed for it. And with our tire price match guarantee, you get the best fit for the best deal. Let us do the work. Available on select eligible tire brands at participating dealers only. Offer ends 12/31/2025. Terms apply. See dealer for complete details. Visit Cadillac.com/service to learn more.
The James Golden Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome, my friends, to the Saturday morning vibe. If you are having that first cup of coffee, or second, or third, have it with us. Welcome. Yes, I'm already on my third. We are going to be taking calls this morning. 800-848-9222 is how you reach us during the weekday show. It's the fastest hour in American media. We rarely take calls anymore because there's just so much. It's like, I love what Princess Diana, who will be joining us later, said. This administration, keeping up with the news, is like dealing with a fire hose of just constant news that you have to try to keep up with. And I don't know how anybody can keep up with it all. It is just, there's just so much. So today, yes, we're looking forward to catching up with our very own Princess Diana. We're looking forward to catching up with Lizzie Radabali, who's here. We are looking forward to catching up with America's small caffeinated mom, Rhonda Schrock. And, of course, your telephone calls at 800-848-9222. The campaign for the presidency revolved around a few issues that are now part of this fire hose of news almost every day. It's almost hard to know where to start. This week, immigration has been in so many news stories, or the byproduct of immigration. The Supreme Court, of course, weighed in, and that was a huge story when they let the Trump administration, this news came yesterday, the Trump administration strip temporarily the legal, quote-unquote, legal protections from hundreds of thousands of immigrants for now, pushing the total number of people who could be exposed to deportation to nearly 1 million people. And that's good news. The justice lifted a lower court ruling that kept humanitarian parole protections in place for more than 500,000 migrants from 4 countries: Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. The court also allowed the Trump administration to revoke temporary legal status for about 350,000 Venezuelan migrants in another case. So there you have, between that, almost 850,000 people that can perhaps be deported. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson wrote a dissent that the effect of the High Court's order is to have the lives of 500,000 migrants unravel all around us before the courts decide their legal claims. Justice Sonia Sotomayor joined in that dissent. And that kind of yields one of the questions that I have for you. I read, as some of you may know, papers that are inherently biased. I try to read everything on both sides. Alternative media, news, stories that the left never sees because they're not interested. But I also read the mainstream press outlets every day. The New York Times this morning has a column that Trump's deportations haunt workers in the fields of rural New York. What fields? New York. New York, a lot of farmland in New York. Sometimes people don't know that because we always get the news from New York City, and even the second cities and third tier cities in New York, meaning population, don't get a lot of coverage. But there's also a lot of farmland, a lot of dairy farms, a lot of fruit comes out of New York. In the vast farmlands of northern New York, where horse-drawn buggies and tractors wind through miles of apple orchards and raspberry bushes, and flocks of grazing sheep, workers wait and watch. They have seen federal agents sweep away a mother and her 3 children from their home on a dairy in the village of Sackett's Harbor, New York. They've heard about the food vendor arrested by immigration police after she hit a deer in a snowstorm and sought to help from a neighbor who reported her to authorities. Officers then took her husband from work and their daughters, 6 and 9, from school. As the nation's battle line sharpened on immigration, tension engulfs farm workers who, in many respects, embody the fraught and sometimes contradictory nature of the debate. The business owners who depend on migrant work, many of them supporters of President Trump, feel anxious about the prospect of losing crucial labor force. In the surrounding communities, there is palpable acrimony between those who think migrants should be allowed to stay in the country and those who want them to go. And the article goes on, and of course there are more stories, which typically I would say, okay, a lot of sob stories, but inside that phrase is something. Some of these situations are heartbreaking. Does that mean they shouldn't happen? And I've been thinking about that because if you are a compassionate person, if you have empathy and sympathy for your fellow human beings who are going through difficult times, how do you reconcile that? How do you reconcile the fact that you want the law of the United States to be respected, you want the laws followed, and yet you still have feelings. You still have feelings of sympathy and empathy for those people who are caught up in it. And I was wondering myself, years and years ago, I visited I travel internationally on occasion, and there's a country in Southeast Asia that I would frequent occasionally, and I remember once I was like, you know what? It would be pretty cool to just stay here. Because it was a different kind of lifestyle, relaxed, it cost a lot less money to live. And it's like, wow, I could stay here. I could stay here and actually have a decent life. But the law of that nation would require that you go through a really long process in order to do it. Somewhat expensive. Who knows whether it would turn out well or not. And so it was a passing thought because I, aside from having responsibilities here, am not one of these people who would say, I'm just going to do what I want to do regardless of the law of that nation. Follow the law. Follow the rules. If you want to do it, there's a right way to do it. And I think underneath a lot of what the New York Times calls tension, and they point to people that want them to go, people that want to stay, what about what about the law? Some of these things that are occurring are heart-wrenching. I saw a video of a young lady that was caught up, and I guess she was what they've now called a dreamer. But she's here illegally through no fault of her own, through her parents' fault, who brought her here illegally, and she has been in this country illegally ever since she was young. It's certainly not her fault. But her parents knew what they were doing. And I think, and I wonder if it is appropriate, if many of us feel it's appropriate, to have sympathy and empathy for people that are going through difficult times, but at the same time, this feeling that this has to be done in order to reestablish the rule of law in this country. It is not just with illegal immigrants. It is not just with immigration. I have stories today about more massive fraud that has been uncovered. Yesterday, there was a story that broke about a government worker that's working with the USDA, who was involved supposedly in the fraud section of the USDA, who herself broke the rules and was behind a fraud to taxpayers that could amount to almost $60 million. It was a fraud ring. They were putting these food stamp machines, the machines that validate food stamp purchases, EBT cards, in stores that were not authorized to do it. Set up a network of fraudulent accounts, just fleecing the taxpayers for millions and millions of dollars. If you look at what Doge has uncovered, even though they did not hit the $1 trillion mark, certainly, and there are all kinds of complaints about Doge and trying to diminish the work of Doge, but they have uncovered so much fraud in this government that regardless of whatever the figure is, it should be clear that the federal government has been used as the Treasury as an unlicensed piggy bank for a well-organized campaign of theft, in some cases for political power, in some cases for personal wealth. Certainly, the rule of law when it comes to theft of government money, government money. It's your money that you send to the government, supposedly for the government to do its work, and it has been totally abused. There needs to be a recalibration of the rule of law when it comes there. If you look at what is happening in every single major city in America, you can see daily news reports of the breakdown of law, from the violent criminals. And with that breakdown of law, by the way, comes a breakdown of certain cultures. We talked about that earlier in the week. This insane glorification of the street life culture that has taken over a segment of the black population in America. That insanity has spread across many swaths of American culture. It didn't emanate from the black culture, and that's not what I'm saying when I say spread. It has emanated from the lack of respect for the law. And so again, my question is, how do you reconcile being a compassionate human being if you are like me, if you believe that the rule of law in this nation has to be reestablished? How do you reconcile that? Because certainly in the case of the immigration, I do feel empathy for some of these people that are being caught up in it. But at the same time, my feeling is this has to happen. You cannot just say, oh, it's so horrible, we shouldn't do this. At least I don't think that's the approach. Anyway, let's do this. Let's take a quick break. 800-848-9222. Oh, man, so walk this way. Smith. Birthday today for Daryl McDaniels, better known as Run DMC. 1986. This one broke for both of them. Run DMC with Aerosmith. Walk This Way. James Golden, Snerdley, Saturday morning, 800-848-9222. Keep it right here.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show, entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
On this day in 1980, Lips Incorporated went to number 1 on the United States of America singles charts with this one. Funky Town was also a hit in Germany, Austria, Switzerland, Norway, Australia, Netherlands, and went to the number 2 position in the charts in the UK. The disco era in the United States in full gear. James Golden, Snerdley, Saturday morning, 800-848-9222. A few more stories on this immigration. I want to get to some other things. We headlines are just all over the place today. So many stories. The Trump administration claims the New York Times report on migrant children welfare checks has more holes than Swiss cheese. I read the New York Times story. It was basically what they were trying to leave readers with the impression was that safety checks, welfare checks on children being conducted by the Department of Homeland Security are nothing but terror attacks on institutions of the left, schools and so forth, homes. Federal agents show up, knock on the door, demanding to know information and how horrible these people are being. Well, the Department of Homeland Security is pushing back on it. They told the Daily Caller News Foundation that their recent report on welfare checks for migrant children omitted key details. The article had come out Wednesday stating the Trump administration's wellness checks on migrant children have stirred anxiety among migrants and others connected with children. However, the Assistant Secretary of DHS Public Affairs, Tricia McLaughlin, said the Times neglected a lot of stuff. The Times tried to manufacture fear. The truth is, officers are conducting welfare checks because the Biden administration allowed children to be smuggled, sex trafficked, and exploited. And they question, why won't the New York Times focus on the children that were sex trafficked, that were exploited, that were smuggled, and tell their stories of horrific abuse and mistreatment instead of trying to paint efforts to check on children as being negative. And then they pointed out, DHS pointed out a few of these stories. They arrested a person, Aldelso Garcia Martinez, on May 13th, who had been wanted. He was a wanted fugitive in Guatemala for aggravated homicide. Despite the warrant being pushed 3 months prior to his entry into the United States, he was approved by Biden to sponsor an unaccompanied 14-year-old into the United States, a family member, in 2023. And then they go through others, including people that were paid to arrange to smuggle children into Virginia and other cases. And we never have seen those stories, have we? Of the children that were exploited. We're coming back. Don't go away. Saturday Morning Vibe continues.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. This National Foster Care Month, Marine Toys for Tots is providing hope to children who need it most. Staff Sergeant James Caldwell, who grew up in foster care himself, shares that while handing out gifts at a Toys for Tots distribution event, a little girl looked up at him, reached into her bag, pulled out a stuffed animal and said, "Someone needs to make sure you get a toy too." That simple gesture embodies the heart of Marine Toys for Tots, ensuring every child, including those in foster care, experiences the kindness that can transform their future. Visit toysfortots.org today.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Plan on flying? It's time to upgrade to a Real ID. Because in order to board domestic flights, your driver's license or state-issued ID must be a Real ID, or you'll need another acceptable form of identification. So don't wait. Find out how to get your Real ID at tsa.gov/Real ID. That's tsa.gov/Real ID, or visit your local DMV. And then you'll be cleared for takeoff.
The James Golden Show, entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I want to share something that just happened around me that made me really anxious for disability awareness. I heard like an explosion sound. It sounded like a, if you know what I mean. And I'm near a mall in America, so unfortunately that's a valid fear. I look behind me instinctually, fight or flight, you know? And all I could see in the direction of the sound was a white Jeep that has an American flag on it. And I actually, they parked near me and they're like getting out of their car and going to dinner or something. Unfortunately, my instinct was to duck because I heard an explosion noise. I saw that truck, Jeep, whatever. And all I could think was that there was danger nearby and I had to duck and hide my head and make sure I was safe. I'm feeling really emotional over the fact that I even have to be worried about that, considering how I look, how I'm presenting right now, where I live, the political status of everything happening right now. And hearing a noise like that and seeing a car like that at the same time can cause a fear so intense that I have to hide and turn off all the lights and duck and cover. I waited till the lights passed, and then I waited a while after that. Turns out the car was parked behind me, so if this was an emergency, you know. But yeah, I wish I could be proud of this country, but instead I am in fear of the symbols that represent it. So, thank you for listening.
You're welcome. I saw a Jeep, it had a flag on it, and I heard a pop coming out of it. Certain things speak for themselves, my friends, on this weekend. The heavenly birthday of John Bonham, drummer with Led Zeppelin. Whole lot of love, of course, big for Led Zeppelin, 1969, 1971, the anthem. This song record sold over 37 million copies. Probably one of the best recognized rock songs of all time. Stairway to Heaven, Led Zeppelin. Bonham passed away in 1980. He was only 32 years old. The music, of course, will live on. We have some telephone calls, and I want to grab a few, but I also want to get into a few of the other things In the immigration files also, you may have heard about this case in Colorado. A 16-year-old Colombian illegal immigrant got probation after he killed a hit-and-run car accident, resulted in death for a 24-year-old girl, Caitlin Weaver. They had one of these progressive prosecutors out there who pretty much gave the 16-year-old kid a pass, gave him probation. Well, the feds have now stepped in. On May 13th, he got probation after killing in the death of Weaver. The car accident had happened last year in Aurora, Colorado. This week, ICE arrested him. The minor has been arrested. And not only has the minor been arrested by ICE, the minor's parents have also been picked up. At the time, he had been driving a Jeep. You can hear that guy talking about, oh, there was a Jeep, but I guess it didn't have a flag on it, so it wasn't scary. He was driving 90 miles an hour in a 45-mile-an-hour zone. The Arapahoe County Assistant District Attorney Ryan Brackley has defended in the past the probation of the team. He says no jail time and probation pretty much was okay. Well, apparently somebody in ICE or with the administration saw the story. ICE now has this 16-year-old illegal immigrant and family members in custody. Harvard's in the news, of course. Oh, by the way, before we move away from the immigration stack, and it's huge, I don't know whether you know it or not, there was a big shakeup in the upper echelon of management with DHS. There have been stories circulating in the past few weeks that Donald Trump has not been happy with the immigration numbers. I've heard other stories, and I can't reveal the sources on these. They say there are also problems in terms of not enough spaces to hold a lot of immigration violators, and some of them are being just checked in and checked right out again. So I don't know. I mean, we have to figure that out. We'll see news reports, I'm sure, coming in the future if that is indeed a widespread problem. But there was a shakeup earlier this week in the leadership of border, of ICE, all of it. And Tom Homan is now saying, he said yesterday, that the number of arrests and deportations of illegal migrants are now going to grow substantially in the coming weeks. White House Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy Stephen Miller, Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem have now instructed Immigration and Customs Enforcement to make a minimum of 3,000 arrests a day, a major jump from the quotas that were started at the beginning of the administration. We need to do a hell of a lot more. I've been pushing for more arrests in the interior. We've got to do a lot more. We've got to do better, Tom Homan said. We have over 600,000 illegal immigrants and aliens in this country with criminal convictions walking the streets. So arresting 1,000 a day is not enough. Right now, the numbers are about 1,500 a day, and we need to double them. And you all know what it's been. I don't know if you follow this. In certain blue cities, now people are going up trying to obstruct the ICE people. They're calling out. There was a surveillance detail on the way. We played the soundbite of this earlier in the week. A news report of surveilling a murderer. And people blew the cover of the agents that were doing the surveillance, and they had to move on. And, of course, you have these Democrat politicians that are out in force, hanging around detention centers and generally making a nuisance of themselves. One of the things I was very pleased with this week was that they have taken the battle in the heart of Massachusetts, a number of arrests there. The feds have also arrested 36 Chinese and Taiwanese citizens in Southern California. And, oh, wait a minute. That story, I'm sorry, folks, that story was from April. I don't know how that got in the stack. Okay. A lot of movement on steel in this country, and we have a lot of economic news to go through. The president has also accused Donald Trump, China, of breaching the trade agreement that's already in place. The Washington Post says that's a sign that negotiations to de-escalate the trade embargo are going poorly. Donald Trump yesterday said in the afternoon China had violated a big part of the agreement that was made. That echoed a comment that he made the day before on Truth Social, that China has totally violated this agreement with us. So much for being Mr. Nice Guy. We will see where that goes. New York Times, or is this the what? Yes, New York Times. Why the U.S. opens its door to Chinese students and why Trump is closing them. And let me just cut all this real short. There's one real answer why Trump is closing them, because the Chinese government, communist government, started sending over their spies as students. That's one thing, and people that were here to basically destabilize America. Simple. Telephones. Let's begin this morning with Mike in South Carolina. Mike, how are you?
Top of the morning, Bo. Thanks for being the leadoff batter on your show. So much things, breaking news and whatnot, and you got all the bases covered. I don't know. I think, first of all, I'm not going to really, delve into it. Joe Biden, they should have a subpoena against every member of his family and all the secret, crew that would go in there and, audio, every evidence that they could find. They're all far left Democratic thieves. And you know what? I'll leave you with this, Bo. I like my music. Love it. Muddy Waters is still alive. I saw him play. And Joe Cocker and Bruce at a place called My Father's Place. But
cool.
You are a musicologist, and yada yada yada. Here's a dashboard rim shot. That's for you, Bo.
Thank you, my friend. Appreciate you. Let's check in Florida with Roger. Roger, good morning. How are you?
Well, good morning. I love a piece of you that reminds me of Rush.
Oh, well, thank you.
You wanted to know how some people reconciled the stories that are coming out about all of the heartaches we're hearing. So,
yes.
Back in the day, the Vietnam era, my church and members of the church took over the people coming from there who were without a country, and so we bought them a house. We helped them in the schools. We made sure that they knew all of the rules. We took them to the government agencies. We worked with the government. Those people went on to be great citizens. I have seen them, watched them grow. So I have personally been involved in bringing people to this country. I didn't tell the government they had to do it. I and my neighbors and church members stepped up and did it. Now, I have empathy for people who are in the foreign countries who don't have enough to eat and who don't have the right medical care. I write checks to people who are missionaries, doctors, nurses to the foreign countries, to help them with their aid. I also write checks to missionaries who go and feed the people in their country. So I have no problem saying, oh, how do I reconcile that? I have lots of compassion for people around the entire world, but I believe it's less expensive for us to take care of them where they are located.
Mm-hmm. And so when you see these stories about how awful these deportations are, how terrible these families are being affected, the pain that and I'm not denying that there's pain and there's suffering in this, but you are okay with that.
Well, I feel for the people that are feeling the pain now.
Right.
I also am all right with myself. I feel good about. I took care of the people where they were, and if they needed to come here, I took care of them the legal way. So I don't feel I hear the story and I feel for them, but they are breaking the law.
Breaking the law.
I do it, and so I look at people who take my tax dollars and try to buy votes, and that's what really irritates me. When they take my hard-earned money, when I can write a check and take care of it, they take my money, the politicians, and then give it to people who don't know how to do a ROI on college and say, we're going to give you wipe out your loan. I'm going, well, person is stupid if they can't figure out if I borrow $50,000 to go to college, I got to have a job when I get done to pay it back. And
well, you know what?
Let
me tell you something. I so hear you, but let me tell you, when we talked about student loans with Princess Di, boy, she opened up my eyes to what is really going on with this student loan program, and we promised to revisit that. One of these days, we're going to have to, because let me tell you, this whole student loan program has been a sham. And some of these people that are really upset about it should be upset about it, the way that the government has snookered them into a deal. And once again, the question needs to be asked, where is the money really going? But I so hear you, and I love your spirit. I love the fact of your giving nature and your answer to this, how you reconcile these things. Roger, we got to run to a break. Glad that you called. Hope to hear from you again. Thank you so much for your kind words as well. James Golden, Snerdley with you here, Saturday Morning Vibe. 800-848-9222 is how you reach us. The anniversary, my friends, is today. If you were back in 1972 and you heard an album, you heard this song out, oh, who's this? The debut album of the Eagles was released on this day in 1972. 3 top singles came out of it. This one, Witchy Women and Peaceful Easy Feeling. And of course, that was just the start of things for the Eagles. James Golden, Snerdley with you here, Saturday Morning Vibe. 800-848-9222 is how you reach us.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Tomorrow, my friends, June 1st, the anniversary of Simon and Garfunkel going number 1. With this one from the film The Graduate, featuring a very, very young Dustin Hoffman and Anne Bancroft. Record of the year in 1969, June 1st, 1968, it goes to number 1. Simon and Garfunkel. On the Saturday Morning Vibe, Lizzie Radabali's coming up in the second hour. You'll hear from Lizzie and your calls. I want to get to a few other things in just the moments that we have left. Donald Trump has done something amazing with this deal that Joe Biden tried to nix. The deal between Nippon Steel and U.S. Steel. Residents in the Pittsburgh area, cut 9. Residents in the Pittsburgh area, these are just residents, are happy with it. The workers, we'll have more on this later. He spoke there. The workers are happy with it. But I want to hear some of the people in the community. And
people
here
in the
they
area
are.
that need to work, to have employment, and my father, my brothers, everybody worked at the steel mill. Then for some reason it kind of went left. Bringing it back is brilliant.
I'm glad that they have it open for our children now because there's really no jobs around, especially in the Clairton area.
And President Donald Trump plans on being in Pittsburgh at U.S. Steel on Friday.
And he was. Cut 13, one of the things that Donald Trump said during his speech in front of the steel workers as this deal was announced and celebrated.
We are going to be imposing a 25% increase. We're going to bring it from 25% to 50%, the tariffs on steel into the United States of America, which will even further secure the steel industry in the United States. Nobody's going to get around that. So we're bringing it up from 25%. We're doubling it to 50%. And that's a loophole. And by the way,
And he also talked about what the nature of the investment was, and I guess you could characterize it as being huge. Cut 14, Carlos, Donald Trump, again speaking in front of steelworkers in Pittsburgh.
But companies all over the world have announced nearly $10 billion in new investments in steel, just in steel alone. But the Nippon investment we're announcing today blows them all away with a record-setting, and this was just heard of. We just came out a little while ago. $14 billion commitment to the future of this company. That is the single largest investment. That's the single largest investment of any kind in any industry. So not only steel, go all the way back. You go into fracking, you go into anything you want to go into because you're a good fracking state too. We love fracking, by the way. But think of this, the largest investment of any kind in the history of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and we also will be the largest investment in the history of American steel industry. There's never been a $14 billion investment in the history of the steel industry in the United States of America.
Well, there is now. Folks, good things are happening out there. We have more economic news, too, that's just mind-blowing. But our number uno is in the can. Our number duo coming up with Lizzie Radabali. And more of your calls at 800-848-9222. The Saturday Morning Vibe continues. Why don't you continue to stay with us? Keep it right here.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome, my friends, to our number duo. The Saturday Morning Vibe. 800-848-9222 is how you reach us if you'd like to be part of the program. Coming up a little bit later, Princess Di will join us. Princess Diana, the Princess of Policy, also America's small caffeinated mom, Rhonda Schrock, will join us. Right now, very pleased indeed to have with us our very own Lizzie Radabali. She is, of course, Red Apple Media's news anchorette supremo, with an eye toward what is happening in the young generations in America, the oppressed workers of America, and all else that's good. Today, oh, what a lineup Lizzie has for us. Good morning, Lizzie.
Good morning, Bo. Good morning. I love that introduction. I love hearing that. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well, Lizzie. You have to tell us about. We didn't get to this last week. You had it scheduled for last week. We ran out of time. By the way, Lizzie, how's that big Starbucks walkout thing? Because they unhappy with the dress. It kind of fizzled. I haven't heard anything about it. I guess those baristas went back to work.
I haven't heard anything about it either. I got to look into that honestly. But yeah, I don't know. Kind of
fizzled.
Yeah, I mean, didn't really dress code. I mean, people aren't really gonna, turn out to picket lines or a protest for a dress code. I mean, there are bigger issues at hand, and I'm sure the union recognized that and kind of dialed it back.
Well, Lizzie, AI is everywhere, and AI. I'm still trying to get a handle on it. Other people I know are trying to desperately catch up with what seems to be one of the broadest, fastest growing revolutions in not just computing, but it's affecting almost every single industry in many good ways. But what's going on with this artificial intelligence? A new Chat GPT model refuses to shut down.
Yep.
This sounds like a movie plot from Terminator.
Yeah.
But what's the story?
Yeah, so the basics of this OpenAI, that's the company that runs ChatGPT, they're testing out this new series, this new O3 model. And they asked it to solve a bunch of math problems. And then on the third problem, it gave it a script to shut down its programming. And the AI actually just rewrote the script that it was given to avoid being shut down. Now, like you said, this is something out of a movie, something like Blade Runner, Invasion of the Body Snatcher. I mean, it's just, I don't even know what the next steps are for the AI, defenders. How do they defend this one? I mean, this is concerning to me. I mean, I can tell you my stance on generative AI. Artificial intelligence, let me just say, is kind of here to stay. You said it, you mentioned it. It's in every single industry. Healthcare uses it. Finance guys use it. It's everywhere. But generative AI, that's like the Chat GPTs, the Groks, the Meta, that's the artificial intelligence that basically just generates certain things. That you give it a prompt and it could write a resume for you. It could write emails. It could do all these tasks. Generative AI, I think, is going to lead to our demise. This is going to crumble society.
Wait a minute, Lizzie.
I am not liking this. I'm not liking this story. I mean, basically, so what they're trying to do with this generative AI models, they're trying to make them self-sufficient. Now, why do we need a self-sufficient class of robots? I mean, people exist, computers exist so people can use them. I don't understand what developers are what the end game is here. I mean, it sounds like they're just trying to make a bunch of robot people, of androids eventually, that are a whole new class of being. I mean, they're trying to make it more self-sufficient. They want to do tasks independently of humans, and I'm just scratching my head and wondering why, because this is not the only case. I want to note, this is not the only case of an AI kind of generative AI model kind of gaining some, consciousness or semblance of that. The recent Claude, that is a separate generative AI. It's more academic. It's from a company called Anthropic. That just recently was given a prompt to shut down as well, and resorted to blackmailing the people who gave the shutdown instructions.
Wait a minute. What do you say? What do you mean blackmailing them?
Oh, so it was given a prompt to run as like an assistant, a virtual assistant to a fake and fictional company, and it was given a set of emails, 2 sets. One set said that it was going to be shut down soon, and here's the engineer that's going to do it. And in a separate set of emails, it insinuated that this engineer who was going to be shutting down the model was having an affair. And the model basically kind of threatened that, I'm going to email people about this affair. I'm going to tell people about this affair if you shut me down. It's literally the Space Odyssey. It's 2001 Space Odyssey. Hal opened the doors. It's not happening. This is scary to me. I mean, I'm concerned. I don't want to sound too much of a Luddite, but I think we need to shut these machines down. I think we need to call it a day.
Whoa. Well, you know what else needs to get shut down, Lizzie?
What?
People bringing stuff on planes.
Yeah. No, but not just stuff. Stuff that flies.
Stuff that it's not. Lizzie, there was a woman, I think it had to be in Australia. I saw a report this week. This woman's arguing with the gate agent because she's trying to bring a kangaroo aboard an airline's flight. Now, this one is a kangaroo.
Bo, I actually have to tell you, this relates to our last story. That video is AI. That video is not real. That video is not real. It is fake AI. That kangaroo video that you're mentioning, it went super mega viral of it appears to be kind of a smaller kangaroo holding a boarding pass at an entry. And the flight attendant is conflicting with this woman. That is fake. That is confirmed not real. Is that just nuts? And it looks insane. I will say, I was shown this video on Wednesday, and I was like, oh, cute little kangaroo, how funny. And then I found out yesterday, actually, that this was all a hoax, that this was a fake AI stunt to see how viral this could get.
Some of these AI programs, I'm telling you, even now on social media, I look at some of these things, and if I say this sounds fishy, I don't even go with it, because some of these AI things where they're now, where they are actually using audio and the lip syncing that's going on here is almost perfect in some cases.
Yeah.
And you can't tell. It's the deep fakes that are being created by AI.
Exactly.
They're all over the place now.
The tells are getting, fewer and far between. I mean, it used to be the videos that the models used to pump out, it was just straight shapes and that, colors that did not make sense. But now, I mean, it's got the shadowing down. It has the movements.
Yep.
And that kangaroo video, I want to note, the two women in the video, they were speaking complete gibberish. The voices weren't even speaking an actual human language. So that's kind of a way that it went even more viral, because people just saw the women speaking gibberish and they're like, oh, this is in a foreign country. They're speaking a foreign language.
Right.
But so it's kind of a one-size-fits-all approach to going viral with this new AI. It could just generate gibberish.
All right, but what happened on this Delta flight from Minnesota to Wisconsin, that was real, correct?
That was real. This was real. A pandemonium broke out because a pigeon flew the coop right in the cabin. An actual bag handler came in, took out the pigeon, and then a second pigeon came out. I mean, so if the flight cancellations and delays that people are dealing with all the problems with the FAA, that's not enough of an issue. Now you got birds in the plane. Not just also it could get stuck in the plane engine, of course. I mean, that's always been a fear of mine. But
well, a passenger didn't bring them in. Apparently, they just flew in on their own during the boarding process.
Yeah, and the flight attendants were all kind of very having a laugh with it. They said they just wanted some snacks, some airline snacks, complimentary pretzels or something like that.
Now, in the monkey kingdom, Liz, disturbing. Animals do some interesting things, and some of them are not good. Dolphins come to mind immediately.
Oh yeah, those deviants. They need to lock them up. Seriously, whenever I see them in an aquarium, I'm like, good, stay in a tank, you wild animal. I'm like, good, we got him.
The dolphins, of course, notorious for their fingers of friendship, and for also ganging up on females.
Yep.
But now there's another thing going on in the monkey kingdom in Panama, and that is disturbing some animal lovers. What is happening with the monkeys in Panama.
Yeah, so this is with the Capuchin monkeys. It's a kind of tiny monkey. You probably have, you could Google image of them. I mean, they're very tiny, they're very cute, but they've been kidnapping the baby monkeys of the local howler monkeys. So these are two different monkey species kind of feuding, and it's actually the teen boys of the Capuchin who are going and kidnapping these babies. So if you've ever heard the saying monkey see, monkey do, it actually started with one lone monkey, this guy they call the Joker. The researchers have named him because he kind of innovated this series, this prank, I guess you could call it, of taking these monkeys, these baby monkeys from their howler mother, and then just walking around with them on their backs like an accessory. And they ended up, some of them actually end up dying. So it's terrible what these teen monkeys are doing. And it's kind of, a lot of researchers are threading the needle and making the connections to a lot of destructive behavior that teen boys do, humans do. Of course. I always think of, the like Twitch streamers or the TikTokers who are doing all these challenges. I mean, we talk about them almost every week. So there's this idea that these immature monkeys, which they keep referring to them as immature males, and I'm like, that's one way to say it. It's very similar, and they're also doing this maybe out of boredom because the life on this island in Panama is so easy. They've developed the use of tools. I mean, these monkeys have been on the radar of researchers for years. So we'll see how this
Give
develops.
them some iPads. Just give the monkeys some iPads. That's all. Tell them stop kidnapping the other monkeys. Leave them alone. Just give them some iPads. Show them how to play some games and go from there.
Yeah, a Nintendo Switch maybe. Do something.
A Nintendo Switch. Oh, Lizzie, as always, thank you so much, Lizzie. Do please, if you have a moment, I know you're so busy, you have your own show that people can check out, and we love it that you're doing it, Lizzie, but I want to know what happened with this Starbucks thing.
I got to look into that, yeah.
Yeah, these people are all out, they don't want to wear the clothes the company wants, and then all of a sudden it just disappeared, whole story, so, yeah.
I will look into that. I will do my due diligence.
Thank you, Lizzie, so much. Always a pleasure, my dear. Thank you, Lizzie.
Thank you, Bo.
Oh, yeah. Johnny Taylor. Oh, man. Haven't heard this in a long time. Who's doing what to who? Cheating on your woman. Yeah, Johnny Taylor replaced Sam Cooke in his group, the Soul Stirrers, but he went on to make a successful career for himself, passed away on this day in the year 2000. He had another big hit, Disco Lady, back in the disco era, 1976. Remembering Johnny Taylor, James Golden, Snerdley, Saturday Morning Vibe continues. 800-848-9222 is how you reach us.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Oh, man, one of my favorite albums. 1986. After he leaves Genesis, Peter Gabriel has his second solo number one album. Across the pond, it went number one. With this one, Sledgehammer. The album is Soul. And of course, the duet on that album with Kate Bush, Don't Give Up, which was huge. And I didn't know until recently that Dolly Parton was Peter Gabriel's first choice to do Don't Give Up. She refused, and Kate Bush did it. And the performance is amazing. It has become an iconic song for Peter Gabriel. Carlos, did you find that what I just asked you for? The theme from that, would you please look for it and see if you have it right now? And if you do, well, while he's looking, and there's a reason I'm asking for it. James Golden and Snerdley with you. It is the Saturday Morning Vibe. There's a reason I asked for this. Many of you TV watchers, viewers from the day will remember one of the favorite television shows of the era. This is, of course, the vocal of the song, Suicide is Painless, but the instrumental version was used as the opening for MASH TV show. Yesterday we got word that Loretta Swit passed away. Hot Lips Houlihan from MASH, and we just wanted to just take a minute and just offer our condolences. So many, of course, yes, this show gave Alan Alda, who turned out to be the liberal of liberals, Mr. Alan Alda, but you talk about a well-written show. A show that was part of the, I guess, soundtrack of life while it was on. This song was released 10 years after it was first recorded. But just remembering Loretta Swit and her great performances on the television series MASH. James Golden, Snerdley with you. 800-848-9222 is how you reach us. We have, let me see how much time we have left. Do we have time to do this quickly before the break? Cut 17, F. Chuck Todd. And we may not get to all of it.
A party that had leadership atrophy, and at the same time, those that were sort of almost behaving like the old Soviet Union, which is, the leader dies and everybody wants to keep their power and keep their influence. So I do think this scandal should be more laser focused on the Democratic Party. I think the press is, again, I always look at the
Chuck Todd. What he's saying, folks, is don't blame the media for not covering Joe Biden's decline. It's the party. It's the Democrats' fault. It's not our fault. Yeah, thank you, F. Chuck. F. Chuck. We're not buying it. Saturday Morning Vibe continues. Don't go away.
A.A. Bo Snerdley. Now, it's time for Protecting Your Future. Sponsored by Colonial Metals Group. Here's James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
Well, my friends, there is news that might be an omen for what's to come in some other states. The news story originates in Florida with the governor. I think he is Princess Diana's favorite governor in the entire country. Perhaps her favorite governor in the history of United States governors. That would be Ron DeSantis of Florida. And earlier this week, Ron DeSantis he did a few things. But this was among the things that Ron DeSantis shared at a press conference.
So the bill on today is legislation that is going to allow Florida to recognize gold and silver as legal tender in our state. And we have the ability to do that under the federal Constitution. There are only 2 states that have done it thus far. They're smaller states. We are the first large state to step up and to get this done. And this is right out of the Constitution of the United States. So this legislation will authorize money services business like check cashers or PayPal to transmit and accept payment in gold and silver. That means these precious metals can start functioning like real currency again, not just investment vehicles for the wealthy. And you notice what's happened in recent weeks and months. How has gold gone down or has gold gone up? Gold's gone up big time. because investors are looking at this and they're hedging against, they see the bond yields have gone up. I think they moderate a little today, but when people start seeing that, gold is a place they're going to. So it's not just an investment, it'll be something that you're going to be able to use, and it's something that is very likely to hold its value, certainly.
Well, my friends, this could be, I say could be, a game changer. Florida, as you just heard, the first big state in the United States of America to now come up with using a tangible precious metals, two of them, gold and silver, as currency. As currency. You can, through PayPal, through check cashing, through other facilities in Florida, if you are doing business in Florida, you doing business with Florida companies, whatever, but not just as an investment vehicle, now as currency that you can actually spend. And it holds its value. This is something, if you talk to if you have a financial planner, you may want to talk to them about. How do you incorporate this new information into not only your investment strategy, but your entire financial strategy, using gold and silver as not just an investment, but as a spendable currency? It has begun in Florida, where a lot of good things are happening. I think that's why, let me see. Yes, I think that's why Princess Diana must love DeSantis so much, because of all the innovations that are happening in the state of Florida. Princess Di will be joining us, by the way, a little bit later in the program. So we wanted to make you aware of that, protect your future. Look into this. If this rings a bell for you, if you already hold gold and silver, now there's somewhere you don't have to just hold it as an investment, but if you need to spend, you can spend in Florida. This is really interesting. Maybe worth a discussion with your financial planner, with your financial expert. And that's Protecting Your Future with James Golden, a.k.a. Snerdley. Okay, I want to turn to a few other things. There has been a lot said about Medicare and Medicaid, especially Medicaid and these supposed cuts. This story just, this story just irks me in all kind of ways. But Senator Joni Ernst of Iowa was speaking in Butler County, Iowa, Friday morning. When she started dealing with one of these hecklers in the audience started saying the usual stuff about Medicaid. She was taking questions about cuts to the Medicaid program. And these cuts, by the way, are to eliminate the abuses of the expansion of Medicaid under Joe Biden, but it's not polling well. It hasn't been polling well. I talked about that weeks ago, how horribly it was doing in the polling based on information that we got from this pollster from CNN, Harry Enton, who is, by the way, this guy's really good. And he's not one of these charlatans. But anyway, she was taking questions about the quote-unquote cuts to Medicaid included in the big, beautiful bill working its way through Congress. Somebody out in the audience yelled out what Democrats are people are gonna die! People are gonna die! And Joni Ernst responded. She said, well, we're all gonna die. We are all going to die. And immediately the crowd started jeering her. And this has been the subject of multiple news stories now. Pressed on Medicaid cuts, Iowa's Ernst tells constituents, well, we're all gonna die. And it's being seen as a flippant remark. It's being seen as something that's supposedly disrespectful in the face of this. Look, Democrats have been using this line for years against any Republican legislation. people are going to die. And you hear it all the time. People are going to die if we actually rein in spending on whatever it is. If we have to rein in the bloated bureaucracy and the inflated number of people that should not be on Medicaid, that are taking advantage of Medicaid because Joe Biden and Democrats expanded it into uses it was never, then you get people are going to die if you take them off. If you start making cuts to the food stamp program, because again, Democrats inflate the number, people are going to die. If you make cuts to any, if you look at what Robert Kennedy Jr. is doing. Oh, by the way, somebody needs to get fired at the CDC. Kennedy announced earlier this week that we're going to stop with this silly notion of giving vaccines to healthy children. The coronavirus vaccine, there was never any science behind it. There was never any scientific study that anybody could point to that said healthy children needed a vaccine for COVID. But yet it was mandated that they took. Well, Kennedy said no, we're not. They're saying no. Somebody in the CDC by the end of the week published a memo out to the public and said, nope, our guidance pretty much remains the same on that. Whoever did that, Robert Kennedy, you need to fire them. They need to be discovered who's putting out contradictory messages to your message, and they need to be fired. This is the kind of sabotage that goes on when you have ideologically driven bureaucrats who think they know better than the people that are elected what the policy of the United States should be. But I want to just get back to this. Democrats are already saying, the Democrat Tina Smith of Minnesota on that liberal website Blue Sky, which was, gotten a lot of traction since liberals got ticked off at Elon Musk for Doge, are saying that her remarks are stunningly callous. Her morbid remarks are stunningly callous. I thought my job as senator was to try to keep my constituents alive. Told that people are going to die from health care cuts. The Iowa Republican really did say it. We're all going to die. She went on to tell the audience, however, what you don't want to do is listen to me when I say we're going to focus on those that are most vulnerable, those that meet the eligibility requirements for Medicaid. We will protect. We're going to protect them. That is not the story that's being published, and she knew it wouldn't be because that's what she's saying. Look, this is a government-entitled program. We're supposed to help those that are most vulnerable, and that's what we're going to do, and we're going to protect them. People that don't belong on the program are coming off of the program. It's really not a difficult concept, but the Republicans are having a horribly difficult time trying to explain it to people. And now this side story has been. She said, again, Ernst said, we're not going to cut those benefits. What we're doing is making sure that people who are not Medicaid eligible, this is Medicaid, not Medicaid, I get them confused all the time. People who are not Medicaid eligible are not receiving benefits. But, HuffPost reported, experts consider tightening Medicaid eligibility and thereby reducing its expenditures to be the same as cutting the program. Well, it's not. Joe Biden, this is another one of these entitlement programs. And Joe Biden and these guys just put as many people on government programs as they can. But I want to just go further. What in the heck is wrong with somebody acknowledging the greatest reality of human life? Everybody living today is going to die. Sad, true. Part of what life is as a human being. Nobody gets to stay indefinitely, permanently. Human beings are born. When you are born, you are sentenced. Your lifespan, however long it will be, will come to an end. This is a reality of life. Why all this upset? Because Joni Ernst made an observation that is certainly based in 100% truth. Everybody living, every being that is living, from the cellular, from the microcells to every single aspect of life on this planet, will one day cease. It is a reality of life. And now she's trying to be pilloried in the mainstream press because she said something that is essentially as true as anything can be. Now, I've had my issues with Joni Ernst over the years. I mean, on something, you have issues with every politician. Once, even your friends. If you have friends that are political. Even people that you are friendly to or friendly disposed to. You will have issues with them. You stick around long enough, they're a politician. But for the entire press to try to make this a big deal because Joni Ernst said everybody's going to die? Come on already. I'm not incensed in any way by this. I don't, maybe some people are. I don't see how it's flippant. I don't see how it's callous. I don't see how it's mean. I don't see how it's anything other than a truthful statement. What is callous is the way the Democrats try to use this scare tactic every time someone talks about policy, that Republicans are killing people by actually demanding that we get our financial house in order and stop the shell game that Democrats have used government for, to use your taxpayer dollars to ensure that they have a consistent power base. Why is that not callous? James Golden, Snerdley, Saturday Morning Vibe. 800-848-9222. Leslie Gore starts a 2-week run at number 1. Tomorrow's the anniversary of that, 1963. Quincy Jones, who was a staff producer with then Mercury Records, was the producer of this one that went number 1 for Leslie Gore. 1963, It's My Party. Let me see. Yes, I just got a note. Well, you're wrong, James, about everybody dying. I'll leave it for the biblical scholars. But my take is everybody's going to die. James Golden, Snerdley, 800-848-9222.
The James Golden Show. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show. Entertaining and informative. On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Ah, yes, the early days of Motown. 1991, on this day, the lead singer for the Temptations, along with Eddie Kendricks, and they let Paul sing once in a while, lead, but, I mean, he was the voice of the Temptations, so many big hits. The one, the only, David Ruffin. To me, David Ruffin is one of the best R&B singers of all time. Keep the music there. I'm talking about David Ruffin. One of the best ever. His brother, Jimmy Ruffin, of course, had a huge hit with What Becomes of the Broken Hearted, his older brother Jimmy. But David Ruffin, oh my goodness. Well, David Ruffin passed away on this day, 1991, of a drug overdose, cocaine. Took a large amount of coke, passed out. Friend drove him to a hospital in Philadelphia, didn't make it out. But I tell you what, these were the glory days for the Temptations. I mean, Dennis Edwards, who took his place in the group, was also an amazing singer. David was from the Primates. No, the Primates were the Supremes. What am I talking about? I forgot which group Dennis was from. But anyway, Dennis was a great singer, too. But there's only one David Ruffin. And there'll never be another. James Golden, Snerdley with you here. Saturday Morning Vibe. Kelvin, I must ask you a question, Kelvin. We'll get back to some calls soon. Kelvin, when do the New York Knicks play again?
That is tonight.
Is it
at 8 p.m.
Tonight.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you care to make a prediction, Kelvin?
I will say 112 to 106 New York Knicks.
Oh, you think they're going to win?
Oh, we're going to Game 7.
Oh, this is going to a Game 7?
Yeah, it's going to a Game 7.
Okay. TJ, do you have any predictions on this? No.
Just want to watch it.
You're just going to watch it. Okay. If they do win and force a Game 7, this would be what? One of the greatest comebacks in Thug Ball history?
Yes.
What? What did I say? What did I say? Oh, I'm sorry. It's not Thug Ball. Okay, it would be one of the greatest comebacks in basketball history. Would that be the case?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you think that the Knicks are going to do this?
Why not? Complete the story. It's there. Let's finish the story. Let's face OKC in the finals. Let's bring the championship back to New York. It's been 50-plus years. It's a beautiful story.
Are you playing tonight too?
Well,
when you say let's do,
I might suit up. You might see me. I might be the 16th man out there.
All right, and they're playing who again? They're playing some team out there in Rhonda country?
Yeah, the Indiana Pacers.
Yeah. The Indiana Pacers, I mean, they really must be good, eh?
They're a good team. They are.
Mm-hmm. And then, so if the Knicks somehow manage to get past the Indiana Pacers, then what happens next? I'm sorry, I have not followed basketball in years. After the Thugs took over, I left the game.
Oh, that was the early
I'm
2000s,
sorry,
right?
I didn't mean to say it. Excuse me. When they started talking about guns in the locker room, and then this one, that one, and then when they started with the rap music before every game, and then when it turned into like the Thug affair. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't. I left basketball. I didn't leave basketball. Basketball left me. But, okay, so what happens after the Jordan years? I mean, after Michael Jordan stopped playing, why watch basketball? Because then there's Kobe. Well, Kobe passed away. So why watch basketball? Oh, there was LeBron. Well, that's a good reason to leave basketball. Steph Curry. Who? Okay. Yeah, if you don't like LeBron. All right, anyway. So what happens next after that, Kelvin? If the Knicks win, they face who?
We play the Oklahoma City Thunder if we win. And
the who?
The Oklahoma City Thunder.
What the hell is that?
It's a new team.
Oh, there used to be a Seattle team.
The Supersonics. Yeah.
Oh, the Supersonics. Well, why didn't they just keep the name of Supersonics so people would know what they're talking about?
Question. That's a great question, Bo.
Okay. Okay, well, we'll keep our eye. Good luck, Kelvin, and all you New York fans. And wherever else you may be, good luck to you people out in farm country. We got to go. Coming back, Princess Di, America's Small Caffeinated Mom. Whatever you do, keep it right here. Do not go away.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The
James Golden Show. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Well, my friends, we have arrived. Our number duo safely in the can. We begin our number trio. Here on the Saturday Morning Vibe, 800-848. 9222 is how you reach us. And with no further ado,
it's time for Radio Royalty with James Golden and America's Princess of Policy, Princess Di.
It is time for the Ness, Her Highness, the Ness of all good things and good analysis, Ness. Our very own Princess Diana. How are you this morning, Your Highness?
Sir James, it's always so wonderful to hear your voice. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. You know, it's been, as you say, I've been using it, as you hear, the fire hose. The fire hose has been on all week. There's so much. I mean, there are so many things I didn't even get to yet. This business in California that's going on with this trans athlete, the Harvard stuff we covered earlier in the week, but believe it or not, there is even talk that Harvard may have to, believe it or not, tap into their $53 billion endowment to actually pay for stuff. Yesterday, MIT had their commencement. Jewish students walked out. They were attacked again by one of the speakers from MIT. Democrats are still whining and moaning about the tariffs, about immigration. There's all kind of stuff breaking. PBS is suing Donald Trump because they don't want their money cut off. The government's been funding every freaking thing of the left. Every single thing the left is involved in, they've managed to work their way into the Treasury of the United States and get money for it.
Exactly. And that time is coming to a close, which is why we're seeing so much hysteria.
Love it. So, you asked me for a certain cut that we have at your command, and so what's the story with it?
Well, if you play it, I will then bring it home.
Well, okay. Do you have it prepared, Kelvin? Well, then let it fire, please,
Day 4. Day 4 of no food stamps. Day 4 of not being able to afford groceries for me and my 6 children. Because somebody decided to report my TikTok income to the state of Michigan. So they took my food stamps. Not only did they take my food stamps, my cash assistance, my disability checks are on hold. They're not going to pay my rent next month. They're not sending me a check for my utilities that I get every month. How the hell am I supposed to survive? All of my welfare benefits cut. So I go from over $10,000 a month in benefits that I've gotten for the last 13 years to zero. Zip. Zero. Not only that, they are expecting me to pay it all back since I've been making money on this app because of you guys, because the trolls. So now, since you guys are the ones that got everything taken away, I have over 230,000 followers. Okay, I need everybody to get together as a team and support me and my 6 children like you should be. Like a taxpayer is supposed to do. This is your fault.
Oh, my goodness. James, I just listened to that woman when you played her soundbite this week and read a lot of the news stories that you just referenced, and I realized it is the same mindset. Her, commanding taxpayers to pony up her $10,000 a month for all of her life expenses is the same attitude that Harvard has. It's the same attitude that CPB, PBS, NPR have that are suing the Trump administration, they are saying, taxpayers, this is your fault. Give me the money. And it's so obvious when you hear an individual who is expressing this point of view. It is so obvious to normal people how she is completely tone deaf and completely blind to the actual situation. And it is the same tone deafness and blindness that Harvard and a lot of these other organizations have. And it reminded me of something Rush used to say all the time to Washington. It's not your
money. It's not your money.
It's not your money. And the left believes it is. And that is the response that we, the taxpayer, have to have. We really have to basically reiterate that over and over to Harvard, to PBS, to NPR, to all of these organizations that are suing for taxpayer funding. This is never described as taxpayer funds. It's always described as somehow, government money. It is our money. And that is what we have to say to all of these people, including the $10,000 a month welfare woman. It's not your money. And the fact that you are all in an uproar is because you have a mindset that is full of lies, that you are entitled to this money from the taxpayer. You didn't earn it. It's not yours. And when you do not then go along with what the taxpayer is requiring of you, and in the case of Harvard, it's simply, stop anti-Semitism and stop racial prejudices in your hiring practices and your getting people to come to your school, then you are going to have to give up what this arrangement is, where the taxpayer has been agreeable to support you if you then have a goodness and benefit to society. And that arrangement has been broken by the left over many decades. And it's time for the taxpayer to look them in the eye and say it's not your money. And it is so welcome. And I'm so happy you had that soundbite, because I think it makes it so clear to all of us what they really think, that they earned and they deserve our money. And it's not true.
Now, that soundbite has generated a lot of attention on social media. There are a lot of people that think it's not true. It's true. And the reason that this woman has gone viral was because people on TikTok did. Somebody finally figured out that this woman has been a quote-unquote creator, as they call themselves, on TikTok, and reported her. Okay, but there were other women, there were other people making fun of this thing, Princess Diana. First of all, let me just say this. Let me go back to what you said about the Rush show. I remember that as soon as you started to say it, I said, oh, because that monologue that he did on It's Not Your Money also became the lead story in the Limbaugh letter afterwards. It's not your money. And I remember the audience reaction to that was huge, because it summed up thinking that I think many people had wanted to express their entire lives.
Yes.
But Rush articulated it, and that articulation just flicked on the light bulb for so many people. It is not government money we're talking about. All of this money comes from the people. It comes from the people who work. It comes from the people who earn. And they give it to the government to be used in ways that are supposed to be for the public good, but very often are not. But the government doesn't own the money. The economy belongs to the American people.
Exactly. And this is an example of what the left always accuses successful people of. This is actual greed on their part. This is greed on Harvard's part and PBS's part and this woman's part, who thinks and believes and truly believes that they are entitled to the money earned by others. And it is not only greed, it is theft. And that has to be set right and said out loud, because once you say it out loud, you're right, it galvanizes people because it's the truth. And all of a sudden, all of their claims to government money dissipate, and they disappear. You cannot then have the argument of give me the money. It's not your money, period. End of discussion. So I was very happy you played that, because I think that puts it in stark relief as to what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with greed and theft and people who are not entitled to our money.
Wow. Love the analysis. Princess Di, hold on, because I want to ask you about one or two other things when we return from this break. Princess Di is with us, ladies and gentlemen. James Golden, Snerdley here with you, Saturday Morning Vibe. What are you playing here, Carlos?
This is Electric Light Orchestra. Rock and Roll King.
All right. And we're playing ELO, one of my favorite groups of the era, by the way. James Golden, Snerdley, Princess Di is here. Coming back. Don't go away.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show, entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Day 5, and I have not received no food stamps. My disability checks is on hold. My cash benefits is not coming no more. They're still pending. It is the taxpayer's job to pay for my kids to eat and for my kids to be taken care of. I have over 2,000 followers on TikTok, and I can't get not one person to send me 50 cents? If you're watching this video and you can't send me nothing, I'm blocking you. I'm blocking you. 50 cents. My kids have not eaten in 5 days. It is the taxpayer's responsibility to take care of my kids. Yo, I just seen a video, and that's exactly what the lady was saying, bro. I'm dead. It's called Get a Job.
We played ELO coming in. We're playing ELO going out. Coming back in. That's because, ladies and gentlemen, birthday today for the English cellist Mike Edwards, who was, of course, the cellist for ELO. I mean, it's sad. He passed away in 2012. A hay bale rolled down a hillside and crashed into the van he was driving. That's just, life is amazing. Princess Di is with us.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show, entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Princess Di, I got to ask you one more thing. I opened the show today talking about the stories, and we knew they were coming, and they are here. The stories of people that are being deported, and some of them really do tug at your heartstrings. And I asked people, and got some response on it. How do you reconcile, you're a compassionate person. You feel, you have empathy for other people. And so how do you reconcile that with the need to reestablish law and order as the glue that holds our society together? How would you answer that, Princess Di?
Well, I think the first thing you have to do is recognize that this is a tactic and a strategy by the left. And once you see it as a political strategy, it's a deliberate and I think very diabolical strategy by the left to use sob stories or heart-tugging stories, as you call them, to push back on what the American people want to do that is righteous. It is a temptation that exploits your goodness, and it is something I call malicious or manipulative empathy. And you cannot let them sway you from what you know is true and good by a story or an anecdote that they will then use. They do not care about the people involved in their story or anecdote, and that is proven by what they actually do on the left. And let's look at DJ Daniel, who was the child who was brought into the joint session of Congress by Trump and held up, the child with brain cancer. And the left, the Democrats, refused to stand for him, refused to celebrate his brave fight or support him. And then look at what they did with Kilmar Abrego Garcia in El Salvador. They have gone to the mattresses. They have spared no energy to support this deported, illegal, trafficking lawbreaker who was rightly deported from the United States. And so there's no compassion on their end for those who do good and right. And I bring up DJ Daniel because the White House yesterday just put up a notice that his cancer is back. And so the White House said we're lifting agents as he has been made an agent of the Secret Service, DJ Daniel, in prayer after his dad, Theodis, shared that DJ is now facing 3 new tumors. DJ is one of the strongest, bravest young men and has now been sworn into 1351 law enforcement agencies across the country. Agent Daniel, you're a true legend. And so I join with the White House in praying for this child. And that is compassion, where we look at individuals who are in need of prayer and help, and we reach out to them. That is not compassion, and it is not empathetic deserving when leftists use and manipulate good people into pushing back on policies that are right and good. And I just want to say that it's something the left does all the time in how they use words. They distort by changing the language. And there is a verse I want to say, Isaiah 5:20, woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. And I think that describes what the left does. They often upend who's good and who's wrong, who's righteous and who's evil, and they support the wrong side. And they push back on these stories that are meant to tug at your heartstrings so that you do not pursue the policies that are right for your country. So those two things, the entitlement mentality and what I call the malicious empathy mindset, are things to be on guard for and stand firm and do not be swayed.
Now, let me just ask you another question about that, because I totally get the political class and what they do and what you're saying, and that is so true. At the same time, I think, how do I articulate this? We do care what happens to these people in these heart-tugging situations, even though we maintain that the law still has to be followed. Do you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely. The fact that you are, a little bit unsure of how to say it out loud tells you that is, you're a good person, and this tactic is exploiting that on you. And we need to separate the two things: compassion for individuals who need help and the law that needs to be enforced. Plus, never forget, our compassion needs to be for our country and for our people and for our citizens, which the left never does.
Wow. Amen. Princess Diana, thank you as always. Words of wisdom from the right place. Thank you, Princess Diana.
Thank you, Sir James. Always great to speak with you.
Coming up later, my friends, America's Small Caffeinated Mom, Rhonda Schrock, will join us. Your calls are coming up next at 800-848-9222 on our Saturday Morning Vibe. Whatever you do, don't go away.
Trump needs to shut the hell up and sit down somewhere, because when I get my food stamps, I buy food with my food stamps. I like to buy Pepsi because that's what I drink. Pepsi. Goodness. I buy 2-liter Pepsis every time I go to the market. And I like snacks. I like to snack. The kids like to snack. So who is you to tell us that we can't buy Pepsis and sodas with our stamps? We should be able to get what the hell we want to get with our food stamps. Now you want to cut everything and talking about we can just buy food. So we supposed to spend money to buy the sodas and the snacks, just to have sodas and Kool-Aid and snacks and juices and stuff in the house for the adults and the children. When will this take effect? Because I better not get messed up for June. I need everything. I want to buy everything with my food stamps.
I'm going to refrain, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, and that one's real too. 1968 on this day, working on what will become the White Album. The Beatles added overdubs of the bass and the vocals. On this one, Revolution. The Beatles on this day, May 31st, 1968. Promise you to get to the phones. Let's do that. Ron in Texas is calling. How are you, Ron?
Thank you, James. If you remember, I talked to you after Cuomo first announced about all these cop killers that the parole board he still controls, they've let go.
Mm-hmm.
43 since he controlled the board in 97 when he got control. Number 44 is waiting in the wings. His name is David McCleary. He was hired by a drug lord to kill a rookie cop named Ed Byrne back in the 80s. He's failed before to get parole. He's tried a number of times. Everybody thinks that right now is his best chance because of the way the board's made up. So anyway, he was supposed to have a hearing by the end of last month. And once they have the hearing, they got to make a decision in 2 weeks. So all of a sudden, on the eve of the hearing, they delayed it until July, which, of course, is after the mayoral primary next month.
Oh.
Okay, and Sleva commented on this, too. It's in the New York Post. I was the first source for this story. I kept calling the parole board why they weren't making a decision. I had to make 5 or 6 calls before they finally admitted it. They delayed it until August, till after the primary, because it would help blow up on Cuomo. This guy was hired by a drug lord to assassinate a cop. And I tell you what, they would have already let him go if it wasn't for the primary. I guarantee you.
This is just stunning. Now,
killer goes before them, everyone.
This is just, it's stunning when you put it, and thank you for being the lookout on this story, Ron, and for being active on it. And thank you for what's happening with that in New York. And this is not just New York what's happening is specific to New York, these cases. But folks, this attitude with law enforcement goes way beyond New York. Now, during the last break, John Katzimatidis sent me a story. Assaults on New York Police Department offices surges 63%. 63%. Ladies and gentlemen, over the last 6 years, and the experts are warning that it's going to continue to go up for the foreseeable future. 970 assaults on uniformed police officers in New York. That's way up from the pre-pandemic 595, and even that's a lot. You had this case, and I talked about it this week, of these thugs that beat and put in the hospital senseless a New York City police officer. One of them escaped with his mommy to Virginia, and the federal marshals brought him back. These assaults on law enforcement officials are chilling. And this is all part of, when I say it's all part of, what I mean by that is this is something that the left will not take seriously in cities like New York, like Detroit, Los Angeles, in Atlanta. Folks, these blue cities are out of control. And even though they've quieted all the talk about defunding police, don't think that they have given up on their antagonism toward law enforcement because they haven't. Thank you for the call, Ron. Let's head out to Wisconsin and check in with Donnie. Donnie, welcome to the program. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great. How you doing, Mrs. Snerdley?
Fine, thank you. What's on your mind, sir?
My mind is immigration, right? We want to get these people out of here, and I got a plan to get them out quickly, right? The ones and twos that they're doing now, not working. So what I propose is DHS or the president come out and announce that, let's say July 1st, you go to deportation center and you deported, self-deported out. 10 years you can't come back, right? But pay them $10,000 to leave. If you can't make it on July 1st, well, come July 2nd, $9,900. You oversleep. Okay, we'll come back July 3rd, $9,800. You see where I'm going here?
I see where you're going. You're decreasing sliding scale to, well, when you get down to we'll give you $1, no one's going to take it, but hopefully the big money would draw them in. That's interesting. Look, the president is unhappy with the numbers, and they've had a shakeup this week. I covered it in the first hour. Tom Homan has said they're going to increase it now to 3,000 arrests per day, per officer. That's what they want, 3,000 arrests per day out of these agencies for deportation. So we shall see what happens. Thank you for the call. Sandra in New Jersey, you're up next.
Good. Hold on a second. Hold on.
Hold on.
James?
Hold on.
Can you hear me?
Hold on. Tell you what, we'll put you on hold because we can't hold on. That's the way it works here. In fact, we got to take a break, ladies and gentlemen. We'll do that and we'll come back and let's see if we have time to get some more phone calls on the other side. James Golden, Snerdley. Oh, this is so sad. This sounds like that Michael Jackson song. The one, where he cries at the end. He does. He cries at the end because she's out of his life. I remember when this song came out on the Off the Wall album. Great album. That kind of launched Michael Jackson into the stratosphere. But this song, genius. So sad. Birthday tomorrow for Tom Baylor, younger brother of John Baylor, the singer. He wrote this one. The song was originally written for, guess who? Oh, Blue Eyes, for Frank Sinatra. But he didn't record it. Michael did record it. The Baylor brothers have sung, produced, arranged hundreds of worldwide hits. And they worked with the Wrecking Crew, which reminds me, Ed Shea sent me a note. On the theme from MASH, the great drummer that worked there, Ed Palmer, was part of the the Wrecking Crew. Ah, Michael, back in the glory days. This was brilliant. Michael Jackson. James Golden, Snerdley, coming back with America's Small Caffeinated Mom, Rhonda Schrock. Do not go away.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Ah, yeah, baby, the Whispers. Bring us back. Birthday tomorrow. Heavenly birthday for Gordy Harmon. The Whispers. This was huge for them. Again, the disco era. The Beat Goes On, 1979. Of course, they did Rock Steady in 1987, another hit. They had a few minor hits that were really good, too. They had one that should have been a hit, wasn't. It was the storyline was about nobody sees me. It was about a kid. They never notice me until I get in trouble. I gotta look that song up one day. They never noticed me till the song never broke as a single or as a hit, but I heard the record and it was just like, wow, it was really a good song. But the Whispers. Time to check in with America's small caffeinated mom, Rhonda Schrock. Hi, Rhonda. How are you today?
Good morning, James. I'm on my second cup of coffee, and it's a good one. So we're starting strong today.
All right, then. Yeah. It's like, wait a minute. Isn't that your state that the New York the thug ball team out there is the Pacers? Something is that your state?
That's us. Yes, that's us.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
We're more football fans like Notre Dame, and the college basketball is more our jam. But yeah.
So what you're saying is you don't care about the NBA, and so
not so much.
Not so much. Yeah. Well. So what's on your mind today, Rhonda? What do you have for us today?
Well, this week our family finished a very long and very precious chapter. Our fourth and final son completed his last day of high school.
Yay!
It's been 29 years of first day of school photos. And I can tell you that back in 2012, when I watched Mr. Kindergarten climb up those big bus steps behind one of his big brothers, I thought we had all the time in the world. And here we are in the class of 2025. We'll have their graduation ceremony next week. Well, by every account, I've just been thinking about this kid and about this incredible span that we've just finished. By every account, that teenager of mine has been a smashing success. His high school career has been very successful. We are going to have a big party for him out in our barn, and I have been collecting awards. Yes, a barn party, awards and his plaques. There's going to be a wall in the barn that is papered with his success. Scholar athlete, master thespian, principal's honor roll, most improved, captain's award, science student of the month, positive attitude award, just all these physical markers of his success in his high school career. And his transcript will include college classes and honors classes. Mm-hmm. He's done such a great job. But what no certificate or plaque that I could ever hang will show is the true depth of his success. You will remember this, I believe, James, back at the beginning of this year when cross-country season was underway, he collapsed one hot and very dusty night on the course. His body gave out and he collapsed. And a runner from another school who was right in front of him stopped his own race, turned around, picked up my son, and carried him up right to the finish line and put him down. And we watched in shock as he crossed the finish line on hands and knees. It was such a captivating story that it went viral. It was picked up by many news outlets, and people were so uplifted and encouraged. Well, the next day, I'll never forget this. He and I were sitting in a doctor's office ready to start cardiac testing. And I just looked at him just marveling, and I said to him, "You are one strong, resilient guy." And in that teenage monotone, he just said, "The only thing in my mind was forward." I was stunned. The only thing in his mind was forward, even if it meant he had to cross the finish line on hands and knees. He was not going to give up and disappoint his coaches or his teammates. That one word, forward, has become the theme of his life. I watch him live it out through incredibly hard classes that took lots of sacrifice, many late nights. He kept going forward. Through all this teenage struggles and disappointments, that you go through in high school, some of it just stinks. He just kept moving forward. And through the following cross-country races and the battles he had to face with fear, he kept going forward. And he crossed the finish line time after time. It was really amazing to see. So he faced fear. He defeated it. He was successful. But I watched as relationally he was very successful. His peers have found him to be a real confidant. He is a repository for their secrets and their struggles. And because he is, you've got to meet him, James. You will just love him. He's so happy and confident. He is free to be exactly who he is. And because of that, other people around him feel free to be who they are. It's an interesting phenomenon. He's so funny. He has his own signature wit, and that wit, I have watched, is a natural anesthetic and is a connector to adults and students alike. And so by that alone, just by being who he is a healer, and he does not even know it. He's a healer. I just, all week, I was thinking about success and what is the actual definition of success. He's not the valedictorian, but he's been so successful. I actually put the question to my readers, how do you define success? How will you know if you have been successful? It was a very interesting exercise. One teacher said, I will know I've been successful if I have made a positive difference in other people's lives. I love that. A mother said, knowing that I've made the road a little easier and more joyful for those on the road of life with me, and having raised children who are joyful, ethical, and have a deep reserve of inner strength and wisdom. That is success. I love that. One gentleman said, for him, it's easier to define success by starting with the definition of failure. And failure to him is giving up and not moving and staying put. That is so true. When we can learn to get up and keep moving, even if it's with wobbly legs, that is a success. A nurse spoke up and she said, if I can look back on a life well lived and say, I have loved well, I will know I've been successful. And somebody else came along, and I love this one so much, and he said, if other people live a healthier, fuller life because of knowing and being loved by me, I will have been successful. I thought about it. Those awards and plaques that are going to hang on that wall for a day will be packed in boxes. Other people will forget what he's achieved. Other people will forget what we have achieved, but they will not forget who we were and how we lived, or actually how we loved them. They will not forget that. Success, I believe, just does not lie in the way of perfection. We do not have to be perfect. We do not have to live lives with no mistakes. It's not possible anyway. But when we fail or hard times come, we're going to learn what we're made of, because those things always show us what we have inside. Like my son said later when we were talking about what had happened at the race, he said, I did not know I had that in me. It was so important for him to know that he did have that kind of strength and perseverance down in there. And I told him that day, you will need that so many times in your life. You will need to know that you have that in you so that you will keep going forward. That's what I mean. That painful experience taught him who he was and what he carried, and that he could continue forward even if it meant he had to crawl one painful arm's length at a time. He knows now that he can do it. The truth is that one day, James, you and I, we are going to pass from this life into the next. As you said, you quoted that senator, we are all going to die, and it's true. It's just true. So again, I want to remind all of us that we do not have to run a perfect race. But if we just keep growing in faith and love, we are going to hear the words that make every single hard thing worth it. Well done, good and faithful servant. Enter in. We will graduate. We can graduate into that land where Rush and your mother and so many of my loved ones already inhabit, the land where there's no sorrow, no tears, and no night. We will graduate forward. As my son said, the only thing in my mind was forward, all the way to heaven. That's how I want to live.
Wow. Rhonda, beautiful. Where can people find your essay this week, Rhonda?
Graduating Forward is on thedailybs.com. And my little home on the internet is at rhondaschrock.com, SCHROCK. Forward, James. Always forward.
Forward. And let me just say this. You know, people think that the shows that many of us grew up with, you were probably too young, like My Three Sons and all these shows that were centered around the family was all cornball stuff. One of the things that I need to thank you for, Rhonda, is letting people know that the family is still vibrant, is still loving, is still a place of nature. Your sons are so lucky to have you and Grant as their parents and as their teachers. And allowing us to share your experience has been a major blessing from the Schrock family, and we appreciate you.
Thank you so much. You're going to make my eyes leak, James. My family is the most important thing in the world to me, and I'm so blessed. They're a gift to me every day, and I'm happy to share them.
Thank you, Rhonda.
Thank you.
We got to go, folks. That time here already. Hour number trio now headed in for the can. May God bless, protect each and every single one of you, your family, your loved ones. Love and gratitude for your being here. Hope to see you the next time. Until then, my friends, I bid you adieu. Bye.
Thanks for listening to The James Golden Show. You can hear The James Golden Show Saturday mornings at 7. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
Hello, folks. Larry Kudlow here. Pay attention, because China is leading the largest anti-American alliance since World War II. One that's already dumped U.S. bonds, grabbed 43 million acres of our farmland, and is plotting to dethrone the dollar. That's why IRA and 401k savers are protecting their savings with gold. Please go to freegoldguide.com/Kudlow or just call 800-621-3908 for your free gold guide on how to protect your wealth with gold 100% tax-free.